What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out a bunch of new Time Lord support that is coming out in the Collector's Pack 18. No idea when we're going to be getting these in the TCG, but I can tell you this, one of these cards is absolutely insane, and we may see one of the most hated decks come back to the forefront of the meta because this card is so OP in it. And yeah, Time Lords are getting a whole bunch of cards, not just monsters this time, which is actually the really interesting thing, because I saw a bunch of monsters and I was like, oh, okay, I figured they'll be, traditional Time Lords, but no, this time we actually have 3 new trap cards to discuss as well. And it's really weird how the traps work. They all kind of work by like sending another trap card to the graveyard, and then you get to like search the next trap card and the line, and they progressively get stronger. So let me go ahead and start off with the card that I think is going to potentially send shockwaves into the competitive meta whenever the heck we end up getting this, because it is going to give a lot of power to a deck that nobody likes dueling against. This is Michion, or yeah, I think it's Michion the Time Lord. It's a level 10 because I think every single one of these dudes is actually level 10. So Mound of the Bound Creator, I guess, doesn't that card work with like level 10s? It's a level 10 Fire Fairy, 0 attack, 0 defense. It's a Time Lord, cannot be special summoned from the deck. If you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Fair enough, that's built into, I believe, all of them. Effect number 2, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. That's whether you run it into something for no reason, or if your opponent decides to attack into it again for no reason, you won't take any damage, either player. Effect number 3, at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, half your opponent's life points, and then it has the traditional effect of once per turn during your standby phase, shuffle this card into your deck. This is in my opinion, this is easily the best card that was revealed in this, I guess, group of cards for Time Lords. This is absolutely freaking insane. We've seen this effect built into other monsters, but a lot of times it's incredibly difficult to pull off. And I was watching a House of Champs video, and John was like he was losing his mind about this card, and I was like, House of Champs, more like House of hyping stuff up, this card ain't even that broke. And then my boy Selza hit me up, and this was like 4 in the morning when he sent me a text, and he was like, Cap, think about this card in Chainburn. And it was almost like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, oh my god, I think everybody just realized it before I did. This card is like fucking broken in Chainburn, because you have to think about how Chainburn works. Like, we all know Chainburn is really not playing like Yu-Gi-Oh against, it's not playing Yu-Gi-Oh in the way that you play Yu-Gi-Oh. Chainburn is, I like to use the metaphor of like, in a race like the Indy 500 or something. Chainburn is the player who's driving backwards on the track, looking to wreck all the other drivers so that it doesn't have to do the 300 laps required to win the race. It's just like, well, if I wreck everybody, they can't keep going and I win the race by default. All Chainburn has to do, and this is a fucking scary thought, right? If Chainburn just goes second, summons this, and attacks their opponent, they instantly do 4,000 damage at the end of the battle phase. That is absolutely nuts, especially considering that they technically get a monster during their opponent's turn too, so they even have a chump blocker on board that can essentially like absorb, or basically take away their opponent's battle phase unless they target it and get off the field, because it can't be destroyed by card effects. Like, you know how disgusting that is, telling a Chainburn player that they can basically take a neg1 to do 4,000 damage potentially, considering that they already have so many ways of recovering advantage with Balance of Judgments and Pot of Desires and Card of Demise. Like, this is disgusting that they get a card that can potentially do 4,000 damage in one fail swoop. Like, that is amazing. And people already cited some of the Time Lord cards in Chainburn. This is one that probably is going to be main deck worthy, because you don't get 4,000 damage out of any one card in Chainburn. Doesn't matter if it's Just Desert, Secret Barrel, Secret Blast, or any of that shit. This is this is kind of scary in my opinion. Next up we have this is Harion, the Time Lord. This is a level 10 Earth Fairy monster. Let's see. 0 attack, 0 defense. Cannot be special summoned from the deck. If you control no monsters, normal summon this card without tributing. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And also, you take no damage involving attacks involving this card. Effect number 3, which is what I guess you could call the real effect. At the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, activate this effect. If your current life points are lower than your opponent's, inflict damage. Inflict the damage inflict the difference as damage to your opponent. I don't know why I can read that. Once per turn during the standby phase, shuffle it and back into the deck. Okay, this one's this one's okay. I could see it being potentially strong. It's just not as strong as the first one. Like maybe if you use something like a Solemn early, especially like Solemn Judgment, this card could actually make up a huge amount of battle damage, but in general, I think Michion is just going to be better because consistently hitting your opponent for half their life points is better than, you know, relying on you having less life points and then potentially the difference being a whole lot. What if you have this card and your life points are higher than your opponent's? What if they upstarted you first turn? It's like, it's a little too conditional for my taste, but I understand what Konami is doing there. This next one, Raffion, I believe this is the one that's like Magic Cylinder or Ring of Destruction. Raffion the Time Lord. This one is when level 10. Yeah, they're all level 10. They're all 0 defense, 0 attack. Can't be special summoned from the deck. And if you control no monsters, you know, normal summon it. Can't be destroyed by battle card effects. No damage, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of one face-up monster your opponent controls that this card battled this turn. This one I actually think is better than the last one, right? Because the last one is a little too situational and you really wouldn't want to put it on the field unless your opponent's life points were significantly higher. That's kind of like, I don't know if that's going to happen all that much. Your opponent having a big monster on the board, that happens in like a lot of matchups. I mean, this is a card that you can just summon, or I guess you could even like kaiju your opponent and then ram this into the kaiju and get a whole bunch of burn damage that way, and then still have a monster on there or on your board to potentially stop the kaiju from attacking you. And what's really cool is this works during either player's turn. So if you ram this in, or if you're, well, I guess there's no reason for your opponent to attack it. So I guess we really won't say that this works during your opponent's turn. No one's going to be dumb enough to run into this, but I kind of feel like this is more consistent than the last one, just because putting big monsters on the board is like, it's kind of like the win con of a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh decks, especially if you're talking about making those turn one stun boards. And what's really cool is the monster doesn't actually have to be in defense mode. So even if your opponent has something that they traditionally put in defense mode, Vortex Dragon is probably the best thing that I can think of off the top of my head. You could actually use the effect on that if Vortex Dragon is the only monster on the field and you've already baited out Vortex Dragon's effect. So man, they're really pushing these burn type effects. We have Gabrion the Time Lord. This is water. Oh wait, are we doing, okay, I guess we've done fire, earth. Okay, I guess we're trying to, okay, guess we're trying to summon Captain Planet here. Yeah, this one's water. And again, it's just like all the other Time Lords. The real effect is at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, shuffle all cards your opponent controls into the deck, then your opponent draws the same number of cards. The only way I could really see this being effective is if your opponent has one of those kind of unbreakable board type deals and you're going second. But I don't know, they like still have to have no negation for this card because they're probably not going to allow that. I think this card is like really too niche to play. I think the first one is way too OP in Chain Burn, and you might see Chain Burn players start playing the deck again just because of that card. Then we have the three trap cards, and they really work in a strange way. You guys will understand when I start reading the first and second one. The first one is called Non-Existence. It's a continuous trap card. It says once per turn, once while this card is face up, it cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. That's pretty good. Can't be destroyed by Masterpiece or some of those annoying effects. It would be a little nicer if it couldn't be targeted, Cosmic Cyclone, you know, ABC, Buster Dragon, and stuff like that. Effect number 2, once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. I guess the first effect on that second effect is discard one level 10 monster, draw one card. That is excellent. These Time Lord monsters, if you have multiple of them in your hand, you probably don't want that, as you're only going to be normal summoning them one at a time, and it's not like there's any trade-in for level 10s as far as I know, so this is actually pretty nice. Then the second part of the second effect says if you control no other cards in your spell and trap zones, you can target one Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into your deck, then set one Endless Emptiness, which is the next trap card we're going to talk about, from your hand or deck into your to your spell and trap zone. That is excellent. This is a card that not only can let you cycle through your deck and get potentially new draws, but it actually has a second effect that sets another trap card. Now, the weird thing again about this new trap card, Endless Emptiness, the second one, is its activation condition. It's a continuous trap card as well. It says activate by sending one non-existent in your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. So the second trap has to send the first trap to the graveyard, and the first trap actually sets the second trap on the field. So that's weird. I can't think of another archetype that really works in that way. Effect number 1: once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect. Okay, that's basically kind of the same as the other one. Second effect: once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. During your main phase, you can special summon one Time Lord monster from your hand. That is excellent. Time Lords right now are very restricted on the fact that, like, a lot of them normal summon if you don't have any monsters on the field, but then you can't really like progress your game state. I mean, I know there's like Time Maiden and whatnot, but for the most part, it's really difficult to get multiple of them on the field at the same time, which means you can generally only get like one of their effects rolling in a turn. This makes it a little easier to get multiple Time Lords, and there may be some rank 10 plays if you can actually do that. Shout outs to Rada. The second part of the second effect: target one Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then you can set one Infinite Light from your hand or deck to your spell and trap zone. Infinite Light is the third card, and it does something that Time Lords have wanted for forever. It's a continuous trap card that says activate by sending one Endless Emptiness in your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. So the third trap sends the second trap to the graveyard. Cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects in any way, so it's basically permanent. No matter how many times they try to MST it, it won't die. Effect number 2: Time Lord monsters you control cannot be targeted by effects. That is excellent. That is the bane of Time Lord's existence. The fact that you can just kind of, castell them and they kind of get cucked by that. And also, and this is the most important thing, neither player can return a Time Lord monster to the deck. This means that they cannot tag themselves back into the deck, and you basically get to keep all Time Lord monsters that you have summoned. You get to keep them permanently and keep fucking your opponent up with their powerful effects. That is excellent. Now, I do wish you didn't have to jump through so many fucking hoops to get this card on the field, but it's a very powerful card if you can get it on the field. Third effect: once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can special summon one Time Lord monster, special summon Time Lord monsters with different names, up to one each from your hand, deck, or graveyard, ignoring summoning conditions. So basically, if you get the third trap off, you should just auto win. It makes your Time Lords damn near unkillable. They cannot tag themselves back into the deck, and even if you don't have any Time Lords, you get to summon one from the deck, the graveyard, and your hand. You should basically win if you resolve the third trap. Like, that is actually awesome. But what do you guys think of all of this support? I've never been too enthusiastic about Time Lords, but some of these cards are actually pretty scary. You guys leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on the notification bell for daily videos.